I noticed that you frequently lower the prices for passengers in Bucharest, for example. How sustainable do you think is this tactic for a long range?
Sure. So fundamentally, we're a marketplace. So we're connecting drivers to passengers. And usually, what happens with marketplaces is that it's very hard to start because you need to have a critical mass of users on both sides. So that means that we need to invest money in the first 6 months to 12 months to build up this marketplace. So there will always be enough cars, there will always be customers for the drivers. So we see that it's more an initial investment, and then once we have already established this marketplace, then it can be a very sustainable business.
From this point of view, what is your opinion about the Romanian market for Taxify?
I think Romania has really amazing potential to grow. So usually what we see is that we're doing the best in countries where people are not really satisfied with the transport options they have. So for example, if cars are expensive or there's a lot of traffic in the cities or public transport isn't that great, then ride sharing is a great alternative and people really want to use it. So if we look at Bucharest, it's a big city, there's a lot of traffic and many people don't want to buy cars. So it's a good opportunity for them to use us, which can be much more convenient and in the long term even cheaper.
But what about the public, your customers basically, your users? What about them? How do you assess the openness of the Romanians to use such apps like Taxify, Uber, and so on and so forth?
Actually, we were very surprised how well we were welcomed in Romania. So it's one of our biggest European markets. We have hundreds of thousands of people using us every week. So I'd say that we were very surprised. One of the biggest differences we see is that in most of Eastern Europe, people prefer to pay with cash, and only a small part of the rides are done with credit cards. But then in Romania, it's the opposite, where all the rides are paid electronically. So that's something we usually don't see in Eastern Europe.
And speaking about the Romanian market, can you give us some figures? How many drivers use Taxify and how many passengers?
So I think now we have more than 3,000 drivers who have signed up with the service.
In Bucharest?
Yes.
You are only in Bucharest?
Yes, today we're only in Bucharest, but we're also looking to expand now into next cities and preparing the launches. But yeah, we have I think more than 3,000 drivers and a few 100,000 passengers.
Can you disclose us where do you plan to move?
So logically, we expand to cities which are, first of all, the biggest, because there's the biggest opportunity to just solve the problems there, and secondly, where the regulation allows this type of a service.
For example, Cluj.
Yes, Cluj definitely is top of the list.
Okay, so Uber, for example, they've been to Cluj, to Brașov, to Timișoara. You get in this competition with them. For example, where they go, you go after them, or you have another tactic?
So I mean, we're looking to go into all the bigger cities. So whether somebody is already there or not is a bit less important. What matters is that it's a big city, so there's a lot of opportunity for us to add value. And secondly, regulation allows ride sharing.
Yeah, a user of both Taxify and Uber told me that sometimes he prefers to use Uber because Taxify doesn't allow him to pay behalf his company and to benefit from deductions and so on and so forth. How do you answer to these critics, I say?
Well, today we're just very focused on the consumer market in Bucharest. So we're building a service that just everyday people can use. But in many other countries we have a business product as well, which makes it very easy for companies to allow their employees to ride. So that's something that we're looking to bring to Bucharest and Romania in the next year.
Marcus, I've noticed that a lot of drivers use both Taxify and Uber. They have both apps and they use both systems. How do you see that? Is there a competition on the same driver for you? Or
Well, from a driver's perspective, it's very logical. They want to always maximize their income, which means that using many apps gives them more rides every hour. So in that sense, we completely understand it. We welcome it. It's okay. What we just try to do is to make sure that drivers always make more money with us. So on every trip they get more money, and that's why they mostly prefer to drive with Taxify rather than other platforms.
so this is your basically your war tactics with Uber on the smartphones of the drivers. You try to bring more income for each driver.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I mean that's how it goes. I think with any field, like to get the best drivers, to get the most drivers, you need to have the best conditions. And what drivers care about is the earning. So we focus on having them the best earning.
Yes, but on the other hand, the passengers are benefiting from lower prices with Taxify many times. So how do you cope with this? Is this sustainable? Again, I ask you.
Sure. So it comes down to what's the commission we charge from every trip. And we see that we're just fundamentally very efficient in how we match the drivers and how we match passengers. So that means we can take a smaller cut from every trip. And of course, if we take a smaller cut, that means there is more money left to the driver and the passenger has to pay less.